I still remember the exact moment everything changed, and strangely, it wasn't during the worst pain. It was during a pause, a moment between contractions when my whole body was breaking apart, and yet something inside me was quietly waking up for the first time. My name is Maya Reynolds, and I was 37 when I finally became a mother. But that day in the hospital room, I was something else too. Alone, terrified, and slowly realizing that the person I trusted most in the world was not there. The monitor above me kept screaming numbers I didn't understand. Machines beeped, nurses moved fast, voices blurred together. Time didn't feel real anymore. The only steady thing in that chaos was a nurse named Sarah Collins. She held my hand like it mattered, like I mattered, even though she had 10 other patients to save that day. And I remember thinking, why is a stranger more present for me than my own husband? Because he wasn't answering. Not once, not twice. I called him again and again, 14 times. Every call went straight to voicemail. At first, I told myself he was busy. Traffic, meeting, phone off. But deep down, I already knew something was wrong. Or maybe something had always been wrong, and I just refused to see it. While my body was fighting to bring life into the world, my mind was replaying years of silence dressed as normal life. Late dinners he forgot to mention. Strange perfume on his shirts. Credit cards I never had access to. His mother looking at me like I was temporary, and me always ignoring it, because I wanted to believe love doesn't lie. But pain has a way of stripping illusions bare. Another contraction hit. Harder this time. I gripped the bed rail so tightly my knuckles turned white. And in that exact moment, I noticed something in my hand. A folded paper. I don't remember how it got there, but I remember reading it. Between pain, between fear, between everything falling apart. And those words, they didn't just surprise me. They changed the direction of my entire life. That folded paper didn't belong in my world. Not in a delivery room filled with chaos. Not in a moment where I was fighting to breathe through pain that felt endless. But it was there, shaking in my hand. I don't even remember picking it up properly. It just existed like it had always been waiting for me. Another contraction hit, harder than before. My vision blurred. The room tilted slightly, like reality itself was losing balance. And still, I opened it. My husband's name wasn't on it. Instead, there was a message written in careful, steady handwriting. I don't know you, but I know your situation. My breath caught. The letter continued. I was once where you are. Same hospital. Same silence. Same man. The world didn't stop, but something inside me did. The pain was still there, yes. But now it felt distant, like it belonged to someone else's body. I kept reading. He will not be there when you need him most. I know you are waiting for an explanation that will never come. My fingers tightened around the paper, because I didn't need proof anymore. I already had years of it. I never gave myself permission to see it clearly. A nurse moved beside me, asking questions, adjusting machines. Her voice sounded far away. Sarah, the nurse who had been holding my hand earlier, looked at me with concern. You okay, Maya? I wanted to say yes. I always said yes. But for the first time, I hesitated, because something inside me was shifting, not breaking, awakening. The letter ended with one simple line. If he doesn't come find me in the waiting area. You deserve context. I stared at those words while another wave of pain hit me. But this time, I didn't scream. I didn't panic. I just breathed through it, because suddenly, the pain wasn't the scariest thing in that room anymore. The unknown truth was. And somewhere deep inside me, I realized something terrifying. I was not just giving birth to a child. I was about to give birth to the truth. By the time they moved me into surgery, I wasn't the same woman who had arrived at that hospital. Something inside me had already shifted, quietly, permanently. The letter stayed in my hand, even as nurses rushed around me, preparing everything. Voices became instructions. Lights became blur. My body became something they were trying to save, but my mind was somewhere else. On him, on the silence, on the 14 unanswered calls, on all the moments I once called normal, but now looked like warning signs I had ignored on purpose. A doctor leaned over me, his voice calm but urgent. We need to proceed with an emergency procedure. I nodded, not because I wasn't scared, but because fear was no longer the only emotion I was carrying. There was something heavier now. Clarity. They wheeled me into the operating room. The ceiling lights passed above me like frozen stars. I remember counting them, not because it helped, but because my mind needed something to hold on to. And then I saw her again. The nurse from earlier. Sarah Collins. Still there. Still holding my hand like I wasn't just a patient, but a person whose life mattered beyond that room. "You're doing great, Maya," she whispered. But I wasn't sure what great even meant anymore. Because in my other hand, I still felt that folded paper. A stranger had told me my husband had done this before, that I wasn't the first. And suddenly, my entire marriage didn't feel like a story anymore. It felt like a pattern, a system, something practiced. My vision blurred for a moment, and I thought about my husband's face. Not the version he showed the world, but the version I saw when no one was watching. The excuses, the distance, the disappearing acts. It all fit now, too perfectly. And that scared me more than the surgery. Then everything went quiet. Not peaceful quiet. The kind of quiet right before everything changes forever. When I opened my eyes, everything was different. The pain was still there, distant now, like a memory my body had already survived. Beside me, a soft sound broke the silence. A baby's cry. My daughter. Small. Real. Alive. For a moment, I couldn't move. I just stared at her like my entire life had narrowed down to that one sound. Then I turned my head slowly toward the door. Empty. No husband. No footsteps. No rushing in with relief. Only silence. That silence answered more questions than any words ever could. 20 minutes later, Sarah walked in again. But this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her stood a woman I had never seen before. Calm posture. Sharp eyes. A presence that felt intentional. Sarah spoke softly. "She's the one who wrote the note." The woman stepped forward. "My name is Diana Carter," she said. "I know your husband." My chest tightened. She continued without hesitation. "I was married to him before you." The room didn't spin, but something inside me did. She explained everything. Not with emotion, but with facts. Patterns. History. Same lies. Same disappearances. Same rewritten stories. Different women. Same ending. And then she said something I will never forget. "You were not unlucky, Maya. You were next in a pattern that was never going to stop on its own." Hours later, he finally arrived, carrying flowers, practicing his voice, acting like nothing had happened. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just looked at him and saw someone I finally understood. Not my husband, not even a stranger. Just the reason I had spent years doubting my own reality. That day, everything changed. Not because I got revenge, but because I stopped needing his version of truth. Months later, I signed papers with a lawyer Diana recommended. I didn't lose my life. I rebuilt it. And sometimes now on quiet mornings, I sit with Diana and Sarah at a small cafe, watching my daughter grow into a world I finally see clearly.